You're live.
And we're live. Welcome to Table Talk. My name's Jonathan Harmon, and I'm with the J. Harmon home team of Keller Williams. And we always have a great time on Table Talk because we don't really have a set format. It is whatever the person sitting across the table wants to talk about, sometimes what they don't want to talk about. and so we just kind of spend some time talking. Our motto here is there's always room at the table. And I stole that from my friend Abdu Kati. Love you, Abdu. And so anyway, we've got Miss Jami Averwater of Hywater Title and various other hats that she trades in and out. What's the name of your actual law firm?
So actually, it's the law office of Jami Averwater. I have
Very creative.
Yes, I have two associate attorneys that work with me, but just named it after myself because I'm not very creative.
Yeah. It made the cards really easy to print, didn't it?
And I can spell it
I was gonna
every
say,
time.
You only got to spell it once. That's right. It's what's above it. Yeah, that's it. That's just spell it like that.
Yep, that's right.
But also on city council here in Murfreesboro. And involved in all kinds of different organizations and just out in the community doing good things. So I've known you now for 3 years, 4 years.
Actually, I would say 2019. 2019, yeah. Right when I got out of law school, I think you were one of the first people I called and begged for your business, and you were very gracious and gave it to me.
Yep, and does a phenomenal job. Has a good thing going over at Hywater Title. And you guys are growing. So we just got a house under contract in Dixon.
Yay.
And the person was like, well, my person wants to use Hywater Title. And I said, what do you know? So do I. It worked out great. So you've got two sides of a deal out in Dixon
I'm super grateful.
through me. So.
I'm super grateful. Yeah, so we opened in 2020, which you remember. You were there, one of my first clients. And we opened in June of 2020, and here we are, 2.5 years later, and we've got 2 offices in Murfreesboro, one in Dixon and one in Smithville, and we've got about 20 team members, and I'm super grateful.
That's outstanding.
I love that team. They're incredible, and they work so hard, and they push me and they make me better, and they've given me so much grace while I've stepped out and run for public office, and they were holding signs on election day, and I couldn't ask for anything else. So
well, it was very nice to be a little bit outside of my normal territory and have a familiar thing going on. You know what I mean? So that's been pretty cool. But we're not here to talk about real estate necessarily. We may get there.
We can talk about whatever you want.
We may get there. So we've had here over the last couple weeks, several weeks, whatever. We've had Mayor McFarland on here. We've had Mayor Reed from Smyrna. We've had Ronnie Martin, who was on city council. So a lot of folks that are here in our communities that we're present in, making decisions, representing the will of the people. Helping Murfreesboro, Rutherford County move forward. And you're obviously one of those. Are you tired yet? Running all the businesses and being on city council? Like,
that's a good question. Am I tired? Yes. Is it fulfilling? Yes.
Okay.
So I keep going. I mean, I'm not going to be one of those people that's like, no, I don't need to sleep. I like my sleep. Mm-hmm. But I really am. I'm so lucky, and everything that I do, I enjoy. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it.
Sure.
And I'm so thankful that people elected me to serve on city council. It is oftentimes a thankless job, but
it is.
It is so rewarding.
The pay is fantastic, right?
Yeah, that's exactly why I do it, right? The pay, actually, the health insurance is nice. So we'll say thank you.
The pay is just about non-existent, just so you know. I was being very facetious about that.
But I enjoy all of it, so it flies by. It really does. I think if anything, something I'm focusing on this year in 2023 is actually slowing down a little. Not so much taking things off my plate or saying no to things, but I want to spend a little bit more intentional time this year doing things that I enjoy that aren't work related, aren't city council related. So I'm getting back into gardening, which I've always loved, and house plants and reading.
I've got some you need to rescue, by the way.
I got you.
I've got like a yellow green thumb, like it's light green.
Like almost there. I got a book you can read.
Yeah, I mean it's not bad, but it is certainly not a brilliant Kelly St. Patrick's Day green. Definitely not.
Well, it can come on to my plant hospice center, and I'll try to bring it back. But
you need to plant hospital. That needs
That's
to be a
actually
thing.
very funny. I could get like a little van, come to your house, fix it up. I might do. I just need one more business venture. Let me tell you.
Hey, at this point, all I want's royalties. I don't want to be involved.
We
I
can
gave you
arrange
the
that.
idea. I just want some royalties, and not even a lot. 40%, 50%.
And
I'm
this is
just
a
kidding.
verbal contract right here because we've already talked about it. But yeah, so that's my goal for this year. I think what I didn't want was to wake up in 5 years and have missed the last 5 years of my life. And
I've done that.
yeah,
I've experienced that.
I don't want that.
No, you don't. And I will tell you, Ronnie and I got into a whole counseling session on here, but it is easy to do.
Yeah.
It is, and it sucks, the feeling when you wake up and you go, well, for me, I woke up and my son has his driver's license.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, when did that happen? And then you start replaying I'm going to get weepy here in a second, but you start replaying all the times that you could have or you should have and you didn't. Instead you did this, or
Right.
instead you needed to decompress, whatever that
Yeah.
means, or instead whatever, right? No, you don't want to do that. Don't do that.
Well, keep me accountable then, because that's my goal. And I went through a lot of personal changes in the last year. Obviously, running for office was very challenging. My business growing as much as it has been really challenging, and so it's given me some good opportunity to, I think, shed some skin and recreate the mold and figure out who I am. And I think I'm there. So I'm ready to really dive in the next few years and focus on Hywater, focus on the growth of the city, and focus on my personal relationships. So I'm excited.
So
And my houseplants. I'm going to focus a lot on the house.
definitely focus on them. That's a very fulfilling thing to focus on. I have shed tears when one of my plants dies.
I take it very personally when
yeah.
a plant dies.
This is
Why did you leave me?
This is my fault.
Right.
Yeah, I know. Because it is my fault because it couldn't water itself or
That's
it didn't overwater itself.
That's true.
Typically what I do. I give it too much love. I'm a little overbearing. What can I say? Lisa, you don't have to comment on that. She will absolutely
She
co-sign
probably
that.
texted you. Just
Yeah, she was like, yep. So, you got the title business going. You went to law school. You did that thing. You teamed up with some good folks to get Hywater going. Y'all changed names, 3 times or whatever it was.
it was only once.
It was at least twice, wasn't it? Didn't you
No.
have 3 names?
It was only once, but it's because I was at my former company, and so that's what you
what it
were
was.
used to.
Okay.
And then we were another name
All
for
I
a
know
few
is
months.
that call Jamie. Where is she again?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was all the same. The last 2 were the same company, same people, just a different name. We honestly, the funny story with that is we did not plan on growing so fast, and we ended up within a couple months of being open, having contracts in West Tennessee, and there was another title company by that name in West Tennessee. So, of course, we couldn't have the market confusion, so we rebranded and decided to invent the word Hywater, which is named aptly after my business partner and mine's father. His father, Tom Hyde, and my dad, Jami Averwater, were good friends and supporters of each other for most of their lives. And so we named the company after them. And we actually have a trademark on the word now. So we can open in any state and we own it.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. So, of course, every time I see it, I'm like, I guess I got to roll my pants up to go in there.
Right? There's so many fun puns, but yeah, we've heard it all.
Yeah, I'm
Come
sure
hell
you
or
have.
high water, right?
That's it. And I'll tell you, one of the cool things that you guys have done, and I don't know if it was intentional or just kind of by association or what, but you guys have really, you do the normal stuff as well, but you've really kind of carved out a little niche with a lot of the local investor crowd. And there's a lot of folks that are flipping houses, flipping contracts, wholesaling properties, all of those kinds of things that not every title company is adequately equipped to handle, but you guys are.
Yeah.
And so, and what's cool about that, at least from this guy looking in, is that doing those weird things makes you exceptionally good at the normal stuff, right?
Yeah.
So if you know what you could get into, and you know all the weird little, maybe it's this, maybe it's this.
Right.
No, it's definitely this, and you're it's definitely this person. then the normal stuff, I mean, it's
Comes easy.
all
Yeah.
day long, and you anticipate the weird stuff because you deal in the weird stuff.
That's right. That's right. And, we have 3 full-time attorneys on staff, and I think that's one of the reasons we're able to take.
You have to with some of the clientele you have. Good gracious.
Correct. Well, with investors, in this market, we've had a lot of our retail real estate agents run into legal issues
Sure.
over the last few years, buyers and sellers as well. So having the full-time attorneys on staff have allowed us to really expand our client base. We don't just handle the easy transactions, the A, B, B, C. We can do it all. Everything from
Sure.
$10 million commercial to, a $60,000 piece of land that I have to draw out the meets and bounds by my hand in order to close it. So we
do 25 affidavits of airship and like actually send somebody to somebody's house
does
down
that
in the
sound
holler.
familiar,
Yeah,
Jonathan?
I have done that. Was that was a deal with you at the other company, wasn't it?
It was.
I had to go knock on a door. Guy I saw the shotgun. I'm like, ugh. Yeah.
Yes, affidavits of airship are let me just take this moment for everyone listening. Please
Get a will
get a will.
Get
Have
a
an
will.
estate plan
and tell somebody where it is and have it executed when you die.
properly. Have it
Please.
executed properly. We got
Please.
one submitted to us a few months ago for someone trying to sell a house, and they said, "Oh, here's my mother's will. It wasn't signed." And I said, "Hey, do you have the signed copy?" And they said, "Oh, this is the only copy we have."
Then you don't have a copy.
I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" Right. So
You have.
consult.
It's
with
like the Pirates
with
Code.
an
You have
estate attorney.
guidelines
Yeah.
at that point. You don't actually have anything
Right.
that matters.
Right. Make it easy on your loved ones so that they know how to handle these things and they can avoid costs and headaches and some stranger knocking on their door out in the holler to
25
get something
years
signed.
later. Yeah, exactly. Oh, good gracious. The worst I ever had, I had to track down somebody. They ended up being in like Iowa, and it was an affidavits of airship thing, and it had transferred like 4 times since the person died, the original owner, because it had been chopped up and all that kind of stuff. Not the owner, the land. And I wanted to clarify.
Thank you.
Yes, no problem. And so somebody had to prove or sign an affidavit that whatever was actually or these 2 people that signed originally were the only children of
Right.
this person. That transaction was 75 years
Yeah.
in the past. 75 years.
And some poor title company was having to clean up the work.
That 4 others
Yep.
didn't do.
That's right. That's right. It's very easy in good economies for businesses to open. I'd say the same. My dad was in construction when I was growing up, and that was his concern when a storm would blow through, right? These roofers and these landscapers would all pop up out of nowhere, and they're not necessarily equipped for the job,
Right.
and you're not sure who you're going to call in 5 years when there's an issue,
Or 2.
or even 2,
Yeah.
right? So it's important to have anybody, as a real estate agent, just as someone in the community, it's important to have people on your side that are consistent and that will be around for a while and that you can call on for years to come.
That's it. Good reputation. Reputations don't come easy, right?
No.
So if they have a good reputation in the community, they've probably done something right
Yeah, that's true.
consistently.
That's true. And we're really lucky here in Murfreesboro. There are some phenomenal real estate agents, you being one of them, great title
Yeah,
companies.
I'm all right.
Yeah, you are all right. Great lenders. I mean, Murfreesboro really does have a wonderful business community of all sorts. And, when someone asks me for a recommendation for a CPA or a financial planner, I usually have 3 or 4 I can give them pretty quickly. And that's really cool.
Well, and what's cool about that is then it comes down to which one do you get along with better. Not you, but that person, right?
It has a lot to do with personality.
So you get an opportunity to actually interview some people. You get an opportunity to, kind of talk through your goals and your dreams,
Yeah.
and get somebody that fits you, not just as competent, but fits, like gives you advice like they were you.
Yeah, absolutely. You probably see that with lenders, right? And
100%.
buyers, some lenders might have that personality that cater to this buyer's personality more. So that's awesome. And I know you work with Bryan Nale a lot. We love Bryan.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Bryan Nale with Primis Mortgage happens to be the J. Harmon Home Team lender of choice, but he also happens to be a huge supporter of Spread the Positive. And do we have Bryan? We have Bryan? Okay. So we're going to hear from Bryan real quick.
Hey, my name is Bryan Nale. I'm a mortgage loan officer with Primis Bank Mortgage, and I want to tell you that I absolutely love being a member of the Spread the Positive Network. It's such a great mission, and it helps bring so much positivity to our community. It's a true pleasure to be part of. There are a lot of ways to navigate financing a home, and in markets like this, having the advice of a trusted local professional is key to making sure you get the right advice for your specific circumstances. Whether you're interested in the purchase of a new home, a second home, or have a need for a refinance, I'd love to earn your trust. If I can help you nail your mortgage, call me at 615-243-3976 or visit nailyourmortgage.com, and I'll be happy to talk with you.
Primis Mortgage is a subsidiary of Primis Bank, a member FDIC, equal housing opportunity. As always, all loans are subject to approval. Primis Mortgage, NMLS number 1894879.
So vibey. It's just so
Trent,
vibey.
if I haven't said this publicly in a while, I love you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love those legal disclaimers at the end that we have to give. I will say I'll get sappy for a minute, and then we can talk about.
I've got a
about
hanky in my
something
pocket
else.
if I need it.
I don't need it. I'm not that sappy. But and actually, Ronnie Martin recommended this book to me. It's called Good to Great, and
Familiar?
yes, incredible book. I've actually read it 3 times since he recommended it to me less than a year ago. And the biggest thing
Did you just not get it the first 2 times?
yeah, that was it. Yeah,
Okay.
I just didn't get it. No, it's that I listened to it on an audiobook the first time and then picked it up in paperback and actually liked it more in paperback because I could take notes. Of
Gotcha.
course.
I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, it's okay. So in that book it talks about getting the right people on the bus and then you figure out where you're going. And I will say, when I decided to leave the title company that I was at and start my own venture, Bryan Nale was one of the first calls that I made, and I hadn't even known him that long, but I knew that he always told me the truth, and that he was compassionate but firm, and he was respected in the industry. And I remember calling him. I'll never forget. I was on Interstate 24, and I remember calling him and saying, "I think I'm going to do this," and he said, "I'm always in your corner, no matter where you go. And I bet you a lot of other people feel that way too." And that is something that I have taken with me. And Bryan has been such a good friend and such a good supporter. And so I think anytime someone comes to me and they want advice about starting a business or even running for office, anything that you do, you need to make sure you have the right people in your corner, the right people on your bus.
That's
and
it.
I feel so grateful to have those people on my bus at Hywater, to have those people on my bus in my political career, the people that held signs for me and knocked doors for me and believed in me. I didn't pay those people. I mean, I didn't have the money to pay those people. They did it for free. And I'm so, so eternally grateful for them. And my family's been so supportive. So my advice to anybody in any stage of life is to make sure you have the right people on your bus.
And what's the adage? You're the sum total of your closest 5 friends or whatever.
Right.
Like the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's who you are.
That's right. That's right. It really does affect you. And if you're another one, my dad always said is if you're the smartest person in the room, find a new room. Right. And that's always been big for me too. I want to make sure I'm always learning. And there's so many people in the community. Ronnie Martin's one of them. Mayor McFarland's been great. I mean, Bryan, yourself. There's so many people that I can call. Scott Abernathy. I'm so grateful. And so I would.
Scott.
Oh goodness. Have you had him on yet?
He's been on. I have had him on a podcast. I don't think I've had him since Has Scott been on with me? No, not yet.
Okay.
So I did it at his office one time when I was
Okay.
still doing cell phone with the.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Scott, I'll tell you. So Scott was my treasurer for the campaign and over the years has become a really good friend of mine. And I
He's
go to
one of a
him.
kind, isn't
He
he?
is incredible. And we play off of each other so well that it's almost hard to work together because
Yeah.
we can't take anyone seriously. But we've had some really good memories. But I'd say find that mentor and get the right people in your corner. And that's my advice.
For sure.
You didn't even ask for it. That was free. You see?
That was great. That was great. We need to get politicians on here more often because we get all kinds of life advice. It's awesome. Yeah. So have you noticed that everybody that has any modicum of success is now an influencer on social media? Like they're all content creators. I'm like, dude, I've been doing this longer than you. Shut up. I'm a content creator. You're not.
Right.
But anyway, no, I have names that I'm not going to say out loud that I'm like, what are you doing? Nobody likes you. But anyway, bless their hearts.
But good for them because I don't have the willpower to sit down and do those kinds of things. And some people just get it more naturally. And I think that's really impressive.
Well, I will tell you, if they're not suffering from this, then they probably have some kind of a mental illness. But I frequently deal with imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Right? Like, do I actually have any kind of ability to actually say what I'm about to say, or is somebody going to read that or hear that and be like, you know who this guy really is? Like, let me tell you who this guy really is, you know? So I struggle with that. And that's a thing for me. And, you know, it's funny because I'll get home and my wife is like, I'll tell her, you know, kind of give her a recap or whatever. And she's like, well, do you have the expertise to be able to say that? And I'm like, yes. And she's like, are you sure about that? And I'm like, no, I'm not sure anymore. I was when I said it. So
no, you got to be.
She keeps it real.
She keeps it real for sure. I mean, I will say, imposter syndrome is very real, and I think more people struggle with it than they even realize. I'll tell you, for the couple of weeks following the election back in August, I had this dream, and I haven't told many people this, and I'm about to tell everybody.
We have
Table
like
Talk.
6. We have 6 people
Okay,
that watch.
cool.
You're good.
And they're hopefully all my friends. So,
Right.
But
Oh, we might go to 12 today. I forgot you're on. So
I had this dream a few times in the weeks following the election that I got a phone call and they recounted the votes, and I didn't actually win. And I'm a big proponent of therapy, and I talked to my therapist about it, and she said it's what you young kids these days call imposter syndrome. You think that you're not worthy of it, even though you have proof. The people of Murfreesboro voted for you to represent them, and you have actual proof of that, and you're still in denial about it. And that was so. I've struggled with it since then, but that was one of the most eye-opening times for me when I said, you know what? She's right. They did vote for me. I don't know why, but they did, and I'm so grateful. And so I've really tried to address it whenever I feel like I'm dealing with imposter syndrome. I just try to ask myself, what data do I have that tells me whether or not this is true? And
it's a real thing, and I mean I struggle with it mightily. So if you're watching and you do, I mean, if you consider me good company, you're in good company, I guess. So let's talk about the city for a minute. So you've been in office now 6-7 months at this point. Is that right? 7 months, 6 months, whatever it is, and probably got a decent working knowledge. You've probably been brought up to speed. Maybe not. You're certainly not an expert yet, but definitely have an idea of, over the last 6 months, what are the big things going on in Murfreesboro.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jami, what are the big things going on in Murfreesboro?
Gosh, there's so many. Obviously, growth is our biggest thing. Managing the growth is so difficult, and I think it's a job and a task.
Can you manage growth? I mean, let's unpack that for a second.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I don't know that I think manage growth is an oversimplification of what has to be done. You know, the term manage the growth. There are
because you certainly can't stop it.
No, and why would we?
And nor should you.
Yeah,
right,
why would
exactly.
we stop it? It's such a blessing that people.
But there's a
want
whole
to
lot of
move here.
folks. There's a whole lot of folks on social media. I wish they'd stop letting people move here and blah 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 blah. And I'm like,
usually,
okay.
if I can talk to them, if they reach out to me and I can talk to them, we can usually come to an understanding that their frustration is not with people moving here. Their frustration is the other things that are affected because of the people moving here. So it's not those people's fault.
Traffic and access and
right, and schools, and I mean, there's so much happening. But Murfreesboro really is a great place to live. I think our property values have shown that. Anybody who owns real estate in Murfreesboro or Rutherford County has seen a significant increase.
What makes Murfreesboro, the Jami Averwater edition, what makes Murfreesboro a great place to live?
I think
three things.
I think my answer changes depending on if you're a local or if you're new here, right? If you're moving from out of town, you're looking at our safety. Murfreesboro is incredibly safe compared to a lot of other major cities in the state of Tennessee. We have a great police department and a great fire department as well. We have great schools. You know, the city school system in Murfreesboro has some fantastic teachers. And I don't personally have kids, but I have a niece who attends Overall Creek. And I have loved...
Go Otters.
Yes, go Otters. I have loved watching all the extracurriculars that she can take and all the things that she's learned and the friendships she has made. And we talk about how people in her class speak other languages. And some of them are hard of hearing and need sign language assistance. And so... I think it's Murfreesboro's done a great job the school system has done a great job of nurturing that cultural diversity. And I think that's a wonderful thing for people moving from out of state.
All right, so those are boring so far. Safety and schools. I mean,
This sounds crazy, but the third thing is affordability if I'm moving from out of state, right? Because I'm at the closing table every day with people from California, Michigan, New York, truly, and a little less now than I was during COVID, but people are moving here. And I'll never forget this couple. I drove to their house. They were moving into the Oakley subdivision, which is a beautiful older subdivision in Murfreesboro. They had bought this house sight unseen. They'd only seen it on FaceTime because they were living in California and it was the midst of COVID.
mm-hmm.
So they pack up their stuff in their U-Haul. They drive from California to Murfreesboro. They make it here on closing day. I meet them at the house. She opens the door. The wife opens the door and she starts crying. And she says, I've never had a garage before.
So, yes. And so if you've lived here a long time, the affordability factor, you're like, it's so expensive.
Right.
But basically, if you step out of the vacuum that is Murfreesboro and you go just about anywhere else, including Nashville, by the way, right? Including one county to the north, what you get for the price that you pay is phenomenal here.
Right. Right. It is. It truly is. And we are very fortunate, too, that we have we had some great builders in the 90s and the early 2000s that built really good quality homes. And we continue to have really good quality builders and developers here that are building homes that will last a really long time. We really have, I think the city of Murfreesboro has done a good job of encouraging local development. And I think that's something that will keep our property values high. And I think that's what the local people want, even though they don't know that's what they want
right
all the time. And I understand. It is hard, but these interest rates, I have friends who, the interest rates coupled with high prices in the last couple of years, it being kind of a seller's market, they've really struggled to buy a house. And I really understand that. But I've encouraged them and said, buying a house is the best decision you will ever make.
Sure.
Buying a house in Murfreesboro is an even better decision.
Yeah.
Because your property value is going to continue to grow.
You brought up something. It's become a little bit of a soapbox for me. And I'll have conversations with different people, different stages in life, and, different levels of experience, different times of experience. And I'll say something about, they'll ask, well, why has the real estate market slowed down? And so my answer right now is interest rates. And almost inevitably, if they are a homeowner that's been a homeowner for 20 plus years, they'll be like, well, I just don't understand why interest rates are slowing everybody down. When I bought my first house, interest rates were 8%. Or, if they've been a homeowner for 35 years, when I bought my first house, interest rates were 14%. And I've heard everything from like 12 to like 37. And I'm like,
Right.
yeah, they weren't 37%. You've lost your mind. But anyway.
It felt like it.
Right. And they're like, but we still bought houses. Stuff still happened. And my answer is always, but when you bought that house at 19% or 17% or 15%, it was $50,000. And so what you've got to think about is you've actually had kind of this perfect storm of things happen. And what's happened is houses in the last 3 years have doubled plus, right? In some places it's plus, right? But they've doubled in price.
Right.
Interest rates were super low when they started doubling, right? Like insanely low. Now
1.9, 2.5.
Right. And now interest rates have tripled since then. Houses have doubled and income has stayed basically the same.
That's right.
So it's not interest rates. It's the whole perfect storm of things that have happened. And that's why it's hard to buy a house.
That's
right
right. I'll tell you, something Murfreesboro can do and is working on doing is bringing high-paying jobs here. We are so fortunate that we have so many good companies that are providing great jobs to our residents. But as our population grows, we need more jobs. And so we're super fortunate for developers like Scott Graby and the Fountains, all the stakeholders that have made investments on Medical Center Parkway and on that west side of town, the Veterans Parkway area, that want to bring 200, 300 jobs, high-paying jobs, whether that's in IT or healthcare or even manufacturing. Some of those jobs on Joe B. Jackson that are coming in the last 2 years have great starting pays. I think I heard Buc-ee's starts at like $17 an hour or something.
Right.
I mean, that's incredible. And so I think that's something Murfreesboro's done really well, and that's something I hope we continue to do, and maybe even more intensely, so that we can help these people afford the houses that they need here in Murfreesboro.
That's it.
Because I don't want them to have to leave. I don't want them to have to move out to a different county, to Cannon County, to Maury County, Bedford County. I don't want that. I want them here in Murfreesboro.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. It's interesting, and then we start to see. You just brought this up. We start to see that kind of trickle down economics thing happen, right? So Coffee County is booming right now.
Yes.
Because if you can't afford it here, that's the next step, or Cannon,
Absolutely.
or Marshall, or Murray, or
Right.
whatever.
We've even seen Dixon County the last few years really take advantage of people working in Nashville but driving from Dixon because it's a lot closer than people realize, especially if you work on this side of Nashville and you live on this side of
Sure.
Dixon. It's a lot closer than people realize.
Sure.
Especially when you can buy a house for a third of the price that you can in Nashville.
And they've got that museum thing with the giant ball out in front of it. I don't even know what that thing is.
But I don't know what it is either, but they're working on it right now.
Looks
Did
like
you
the
see
Death
that?
Star. Yeah, it's crazy.
They're like patching it.
I know. That's pretty wild. All right. So what's the biggest challenges facing Murfreesboro right now besides growth? Okay. What's the biggest challenge? So there's that. What else?
Yeah, I mean growth, of course, but you're not allowed to say that. Okay.
You already said it.
I'm sorry. I really think Murfreesboro needs a full-time mayor.
Interesting.
And I'm going to say that, and I'm going to get a lot of phone calls tomorrow now. I felt that way for a long time. I don't know that I've publicly said it very much. I think when I was running for the position, I thought, well, I'll get in there and I'll see how it works. And I think our city manager is one of the most intelligent people I have ever met, and he does a fantastic job. Mayor McFarland, a great businessman, a great leader for our city. But as someone who comes from a background of business and a background of law, I really like black and white. I don't do well in the gray. And so I would like to have clearer systems and a better understanding for both our citizens and our council members on who makes what decisions.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a few issues the last few months that have come up in the city of Murfreesboro. Some of them have made the national news, and people are calling on the city council members for us to act, and it wasn't our decision, or we don't have the authority to act. Not saying that the decision that was made was right or wrong, but I think it's confusing a lot of times for people in Murfreesboro because they say, well, I voted for you. I want you to represent me, but I can only represent you on these things. These other things, the day-to-day activities, are managed by someone else. And I think that system works in a lot of places. This board of directors, CEO type thing, whereas the city manager runs the day-to-day as a CEO would, and the board of directors is responsible for hiring and firing him and
Right.
also setting the vision. I think that works.
But it starts to break down when the elected get into the minutia.
Well, and I feel the elected might have to get into the minutia when our populace has become so large and so
Right.
active and so involved, and from a constitutional
And
perspective,
diverse.
Absolutely, so diverse, and from a constitutional perspective, there's a point to electing our representatives.
So then do you think that I've always thought it was weird that Murfreesboro's all at large as well on the
Correct.
council. So you don't represent my area. You might represent me, right? Because I voted for you, right? But so does everybody else that sits on that council,
Right.
whether I voted for them or not. None of them represent my best interest at the home that I live in,
Right.
right? Because we don't have districts.
Mm-hmm.
I've always thought that was weird, and now I've heard pros and cons.
Yeah.
I've heard all of that. I know, and there's probably some good to that. Because I can call on whomever I want, and if you live on the other side of town, you can still I get all of that.
Right.
But when we get to a certain size, I mean, you think about it. I say this jokingly all the time, but it's true. Murfreesboro is 45 minutes from Murfreesboro. So what happens in Blackman is not the same thing that happens at my house in downtown Murfreesboro,
That's true.
right? And what happens out close to the landfill, the VA, all of that stuff, is not the same thing that happens on Joe B. Jackson. Like, it's just not. And so you need someone, in my opinion, to represent this area and be the voice of this area because their legislations are diverse, the needs are diverse, the infrastructure. I mean, think about somebody needing infrastructure in downtown Murfreesboro compared to Berkshire. They're very different.
That's true.
Very different.
That's true. Yeah, those are good points. It's something we talked about.
And how do you balance it, right?
Right.
If you're all at large, everybody works for everybody, which sometimes means that nobody works for anybody.
Yeah. But on the other hand, Murfreesboro is big, but it's so small compared to so many other places.
No doubt.
And
Don't talk trash about somebody because that person's gonna know somebody that knows that person.
Ain't that the truth?
Uh-huh.
But I will say, of our 7 city council members, 6 elected and 1 is the mayor, 5 of them live on the same side of town. Mm-hmm. And I don't blame them. That's a great side of town. I'm partial to the west side, personally. But I think that can be frustrating for people in Blackman that want the Blackman Park, right? Because I live on the west side. I shop on the west side. I'm at Publix. I'm at Kroger. I'm at the gas station.
And it's out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right. And I don't think it's intentional by
No.
anybody, especially anybody in the city of Murfreesboro. But like you said, out of sight, out of mind. When you're driving, I forget how bad the traffic, Trent said something about traffic on Interstate 24. I couldn't tell you the last time I drove in rush hour on Interstate 24. It's probably really easy for me to forget how awful that is.
I don't cross I-24.
Okay, that's hysterical because that's my dad's rule, but he lives on the west side.
Yeah.
And he says,
but
I don't cross the interstate.
I don't cross 24 unless I'm going to Sam's. And even
and that's even just right there.
Just barely.
So close.
And my office is just across, and I don't go to my
You don't
office
go
very
there.
often.
Yeah.
My brother lives in Berkshire. I haven't been to my brother's house in probably 6 or 7 months.
See, me, I love the west side. I love the medical center area, the Gateway.
Sure.
I love Veterans Parkway, that whole
Gateway's
area.
on our side, friend. Sorry.
No, I'm saying, but in general, that's where I stay.
Oh, I was going to say, that's ours.
Yes.
Not yours.
That's where I stay. I stay there. I have an office on South Rutherford, and I do visit there frequently. But nothing takes me to the north side. I'm very grateful that we have representatives on the north side that are driving those roads every day.
But you've proved my point, though.
Yeah,
What representative
I get it.
do we have that's down Church Street?
We don't have anyone down Church Street anymore. There is someone that lives on Southeast Broad.
There is a lot of people down
That's
Church
true.
Street. That's like a whole corner of
That's
Murfreesboro.
true.
Anyway, soapbox.
But my soapbox is everybody should be involved and everybody should run and everybody should, get involved in the process. And people from the south side have just as much as a say as people from the north side or the west side. And my phone is always on. My email is unfortunately always open. And so you can email me anytime, no matter what side of town you're on. And I'm actually really impressed when we have people from out of the city get involved in the process. I know they're not taxpayers, they're not voters, but a lot of what happens in the city of Murfreesboro does affect those property owners right
No
on the
doubt.
outside because they're having to come to the city
Yeah.
to grocery shop, and they're spending their dollars here, which we get taxes off of, and I'm so grateful for that, of course, too. But we've really got to listen to everybody.
And they're the ones clogging up the roads.
Dang it.
It's their fault. No, I'm just kidding. But, all right. Let's see. What's your favorite color?
Ooh, I'm a dusty pink kind of girl.
Dusty pink. Does it
Dusty
just mean it's
pink.
dirty? I mean,
No, like look at my nails.
that's dusty
That's
pink.
dusty
It just
pink.
looks like light pink to me.
Well, right. Well, sometimes when I say my favorite color is pink, people buy me like hot pink blazers, or they ask if I like Elle Woods or Barbie, and I'm like, no, I didn't say
Not so
hot
much.
pink. Yeah,
Dusty pink.
like a dusty pink.
All right.
Very light.
And are you mountains or beach?
Mountains all
Yeah,
the way.
Same.
All the way. Actually, fun fact: I can't swim.
At all?
Can't swim.
Not even doggy paddle?
Nope. Cannot swim. Yep.
Not
So-
sure. I'm not sure I trust somebody that just plain can't swim.
Yeah, it's
Like, why is this? Do you have a phobia or?
no, I really don't. So I love the water though. Like I get in the lake, but I wear a
So
life
what do
jacket.
you do? Oh, okay. I was gonna say. So what do you do?
So-
You just like
Yes. So I'm the girl in the summer canoeing down the Duck River with a life jacket, right? Even though the Duck River is about this deep, I
Right.
still wear my life jacket.
Yeah, yeah.
The tan lines are awful.
That's awesome.
But even when I'm at the beach, so I love but my dream one day would be to get scuba certified. I'm like, how am I going to do that? I can't even
you
swim.
need to make inflatable, deflatable water wings. So you just put water wings on, and like you hit a button, and they, and then you hit another button, and they.
What if they failed? Jonathan, as your lawyer, you are not thinking through the liability here.
You have a disclaimer. That's good enough, right?
Yeah, sure. That always works.
Yeah, exactly.
That always works. Yeah, so I love the mountains. I'm a big fan of hiking. Actually, in September, I tagged along with some friends on a backpacking trip in Colorado and had a great time out there. It's my first time to that area. But we're so lucky in Murfreesboro. People think I'm crazy when I say this, but Barfield has a really fun hiking trail.
That's this guy.
Yes, when it's a Saturday morning and you don't have, 6 hours
That's
to
his
go
therapy.
drive. Yes, I take my
Yes.
dog. It's fairly empty. It's always clean. It's cleared. I
The
really,
trails
really love
are
it.
awesome.
The
They're
trails
so
are
good.
awesome. Yeah.
Kid from Western North Carolina grew up doing those things. They're
Yeah.
top notch.
I love that.
stuff.
I love that.
Yep.
All right, what else? You got 2 more minutes. What you got?
2 more minutes. Oh my goodness.
Anything you want. Favorite plant?
Oh,
Pick one.
Oh.
Just one.
Wow.
I can't.
You can do it.
Jonathan, I
You can do it.
can't
What's the
do it.
first one that came to mind?
House plant?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, my favorite flower is tulip.
Okay.
Okay,
go.
but I can't pick a favorite house plant. That'd be rude.
They're not listening.
Yes, they are.
There's none in here. See?
They are. Yeah,
Tune in to
I will say so.
Facebook Live.
So funny story. I know a lot of people have seen this on Facebook. I've had a lot of drama in my home life lately. It's not what you think. Last week, my cat went missing, and I had no idea that it would
Hallelujah.
become the
I don't like cats.
rude. I didn't like cats either until this cat. You got to meet George. He's named after George W. Bush. Okay, all right. But he went missing, and it became the talk of Murfreesboro. I mean, I would go somewhere, and people I don't even know were walking up to me like, "Have you found George?
Is George back yet?
George is back."
Yay.
Thank goodness a neighbor found him. Just walked up. He got hungry after 3 or 4 days, so he's back.
Cats are
But then a
so
couple,
weird.
they're so weird. But a couple weeks ago,
Can't stand them.
my neighbors said, "Hey, this dog showed up on my back porch and it won't leave." And they said, "We can't keep it. We're gonna call Paws." And I said, "Well, I'll go get it. I'll get it. Make sure see if it's microchipped. I'll get it healthy, and I'll find it a good home."
Still
Famous
there.
last
That's
words.
your-
Oh
that's
yeah,
your dog.
this is
That's
my
why
dog
George
now.
ran away.
It actually is.
George is like,
So messed up.
what? Cats are rude. They are selfish.
You know what? I
and-
like it though.
No,
It's
and they're
his
just-
house. He was
They're
there
like,
first.
they're like, what are you doing? What is it? What? I thought we
am
had
the
something.
ruler.
so true.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I went from a very quiet household to a foster puppy, a big lab, and a cat. That's
Oh, it's a
just
big dog.
So the foster one is a pit bull, so she's gonna be big. My other dog is a lab.
Oh, you have another.
I do.
You got 2 pups.
I do.
Wow,
I have
that's
2
a house-
pups
that's a
and
house
cat, and it's
full.
just me. And so it's okay. It's okay.
Hey.
We're handling it.
We'll pray for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just me. I have a room with just my house plants, and I can go in and shut the door.
Yeah.
Animals can't come in
Do
there.
they scratch?
No, they're actually pretty well behaved. I think the hardest part right now is having a puppy is like having a baby. I've
Very
never
much
had a
so.
baby, but that's what I think it would be like.
It's not like having a baby.
I'm up like
but
every
okay.
3 hours. Yeah. The thing is, I leave it outside.
Yeah.
Get it in the
You can't
morning.
do that with a baby.
Can't do that with a baby.
It's really
No.
frowned upon.
It really is. Note to self: Jami Averwater should not have babies if she thinks she can leave them outside.
You're not wrong. You're not
Yeah.
wrong.
Oh, he's crying.
Ooh,
You just sit out there for a
shut
second.
The door, lock it, bottom and top lock. I will say the last piece that I want to leave with, and I hope this ages well, is that on Friday I have the honor of giving a speech at my alma mater for Women's History Month. And
Oh, that's right.
Go feet.
yeah, go feet. Yes, I'm a proud Webb School alum out in Bell Buckle, and it's so easy. I'm young, obviously. What year were you born, Jonathan? I hate to call you back. 80s? Just a decade. Just give me a decade.
Late 70s.
Late 70s. Okay, that's even better. Do you know...
You're even older than
You're
me.
even older than I thought. Do you know women couldn't have their own credit cards till 1972?
I did not know that.
Yeah. I knew it was... Took a long
Honestly,
time.
honestly, it would be good if you could ban some people from having. Like, I would love to get
Men
banned.
and women.
Yeah, I would love to get banned from. You, sorry,
Me
sir.
too.
You
Yeah.
can never have another credit card. I'd be like,
Yeah.
Probably be a good thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your wife's really happy about it.
yeah. And she's like, well, give me his because she's responsible.
That's
and I'm
right.
not. Yeah.
Twice the limit for her. But I don't say all that to say that women are oppressed. That's not my point. My point is that that's only been a few generations. It's only been 50
One
years.
generation.
One
Thank you very much. 40,
Okay, sorry.
40 some
It's
years
been
ago.
one Jonathan generation.
One Jonathan generation.
But
This has gotten really funny.
But the truth is, like, so much can change in so little time. And, so other than getting the right people on your bus and the right people in your corner, keep doing those things that can be better.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm getting really passionate about criminal justice reform, and that's something City Council has nothing to do with. But at being,
There's a.
but it's bad.
It's bad.
We need help. We
It's
need
bad.
help. And so I will say, when I get discouraged reading and studying about criminal justice reform and meeting with people and learning about it, I just remember that my grandmother couldn't have a credit card
Yeah.
until the early 1970s. She'd already, in fact, I actually asked my uncle this last night. She was in a master's program earning her master's in psychology before she could have a credit card.
That's crazy.
Is that not crazy?
Yes.
That's crazy.
And I have a great grandmother who was a trailblazer in so many ways. But I think all that is to say, and that's kind of what I'm going to talk about on Friday in my speech, is it's not Women's History Month is a big deal, but I think we can look at women's history and learn so much from it about what we can accomplish, both women and men, and the younger generations too. I look at my niece Layla. She has the best ideas, and she has the biggest heart. And I don't remember asking such thoughtful questions at 14, but I also don't think I was presented with so much raw information at 14.
And that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Right? Just the availability. The challenge now to the current generation and to my generation and to your generation and to really anybody that's breathing right now, the challenge is discernment.
Yeah.
Right? There's so much we talked about, I brought that up. Everybody's an influencer. Everybody's a content creator. How do you discern what's beneficial and what's not? How do you look at something and go, that's a good idea, right? Or better yet, how do you keep yourself from isolating? And this is what's so bizarre about social media. You can be completely isolated in social media because it's built that way,
Yes.
right? It's built to where
It wants you to scroll.
you're here and you like it. Well, then you're going to get 3 more just like it so that you like all of them. And then the next thing you know, you're isolated. So this whole wide world of information, you're only going to get this sliver, and it feels like everybody agrees with you when the reality is this thing right here is controlling what you're seeing.
That's so true. That's so true. And the last thing I'll say on that is don't take legal advice from TikTok.
Ever.
I keep getting a lot of questions about, I heard this on TikTok. No, no, not at all. Well, thank you for having me, Jonathan.
Thank
It's
you.
been such
Thank
a
you.
joy being your friend and drinking beer with you and talking about plants with you. So
Yeah. I do have a few that are really sick. I need to
I got you.
figure
Don't
out
worry.
how to fix them. Bless their, well, they don't have hearts. Bless their rhizomes. I don't know. Whatever it is.
Their roots.
Bless their roots. There you go.
That's
May they stick and grow.
Yeah. And not rot because I overwatered them.
What a powerful way to end. That was great. Thanks,
All right.
Jamie. That was
Thank
awesome.
you, Jamie.
Thanks, you guys.
Appreciate you. Hywater Title, Law Office of Jami Averwater, and one of 6 council people.
That's
Is that the right word? Council people?
Council members, yeah.
Yes. And anyway, and just a generally awesome human. So
Thank you,
thank you
Jonathan.
so much.
Thank you, Trent.
Thank
Thank you guys for watching. If you need mortgage help, call my friend Bryan. If you need real estate help, call me. We'll talk to you soon.